Around 400 years ago, in 1599, William Shakespeare wrote the play As You Like It. In this play, we find the poem The Seven Ages of Men. It's a famous poem which describes a man's life. But here we find that Kamala has written a poem with similar name, but instead of men, it is women. It is The Seven Ages of Women. It's a heart-wrenching poem by Kamala, which shows the life of a woman in such few lines. I am going to read out this beautiful poem. The Seven Ages of Woman. Born squalling into sudden gloom, the girl child's first wail resembled a cry of distress, for each cell within her did tell that she was not wanted there. The search had then begun with the first intake of breath, the search for a love that was kith and kin to the celestial realms of the unborn. The dream plains that precede birth and follow that hushed moment of death, when all leaves and boughs of the mind freeze and the winds are all of a sudden still. Milk has a slight taste of rubber. She learns and recalls from the perfumed arms that welcome her once a day or once a week, recalls to hide her face in the warm nest of her nursemaid's bosom. Then at school, each gilded report card must bring forth a father's tolerant grin and perhaps a gift, neither cheap nor excellent, just a fountain pen, or a watch with a Mickey Mouse painted on its dial. The neighbors cry, "You are indeed lucky, for although a girl, your father seems to love you so. Look at the gifts he bought for you." After a few years, when the gradually acquired independence begins to show, her guardians thrust her into the trap of matrimony that was prescribed by tradition and society. And after the din has died down, the gifts shown off, the silk sent to the laundry, and all the greetings acknowledged, the bride begins to discover the coarse realities of a new role. At best a plaything, a doll he can crush in his arms and chew upon, with purple wheals around her throat, bruises on her limbs, and lips much swollen, battered with clumsy use, she returns from her honeymoon. Feeling silly, sullied, for lust had been taken for the real murky, and marriage, despite its awesome hardiness, mistaken to be divine. Then in silence the woman conceived, not sure if she fancied that celebrated motherhood at all, and the savage pain of childbirth no lip in science could yet alter or mitigate was hers to undergo. Washing and then feeding the young one gave her joy. Her beauty startled the passers-by as if her animality had climbed its most radiant peak. A woman with her baby in her arms becomes a divine, resembles Mary and the infant Christ, or Yashoda with her blue lotus of a son. And yet a mother's glory has its waning phase. The children stalk out of their mother's arms, growing out of their need. Yes, the tragedy of life is not death itself, but the adult growing of needs and discovering that the old have black-rimmed nails and scalps from which emanates a sweet mouldy smell. And then when the hair is grey and the skin acquires its rightful itching, the mother's newfound ugliness seems an affront to her children, and love reduces itself to a greeting card at the ears or a phone call that abruptly ends on an optimistic note. "I shall write you a long letter, mother." Of course, such a letter does not ever reach the one waiting for mail at the doorway of an old home every morning without fail. Yes, Mothers are merely a displaced generation, and while they seek their cheap analgesics, bitter gourds, fruit salts, health foods, and misplaced ration cards, they seek that long forgotten thing, the concept of love, a love at least in small change, as beggars do, awaiting those strangers who arrive with money in wallet a yen to give.